morning.
Good morning.
Today we're going to be doing the rentals class, so we're going to walk through how to set up rental inventory, keep track of quantities for rentals a couple different ways, as well as entering in a rental transaction and look at a couple different scenarios for billing and then using tasks to manage deliveries and pickups, as well as adding items onto a route. So the first thing when dealing with rentals in the service program is we need to set up our inventory that is available to rent out. So if you keep track of serial numbers, you would actually go to the rental inventory or rental info dropdown and then rental inventory list. It's on this screen that we can set up inventory that we want to rent out and keep track of the serial number. This item list pulls directly from QuickBooks that you're setting up. If you do not track serial numbers, you don't need to set up this screen. So if I'm setting up maybe portable toilets to rent out, I'm going to pick the item from my QuickBooks item list. I'm going to go ahead and put in the serial number. I can put in daily, weekly, and monthly charges. And now we've added the item to the list. We don't have to fill out anything else. This is the bare minimum required to set up a piece of inventory to make it able to be rented out to a customer. Now we do have some extra fields that you can set up if you want to keep track of like a purchase date or serial or like an asset tag number. If you double-click the serial number that's blue and underlined, you can get into the item detail, and here you can see a bunch of other information we can keep track of: size, condition, date purchase, purchase price, as well as custom fields. Now, if we want to set the label for a custom field, we have to do that in the control table. So if I go to Miscellaneous Info, System, and Control Table Maintenance, then I'm going to go to the Rentals tab. Then Custom Field 1 I could set to be maybe asset tag number. So any of these custom fields that you set, when you go back to your rental inventory list, you now see on the far right I've got a column for asset tag number. And also if I double-click the serial number to go into the item detail, you'll see that field set up here as well. I have another way I could add bulk serial numbers to this list. If I hit the button that says Bulk Add Serial Numbers, I get a pop-up window where I could pick an item. I then could put in my daily and weekly and monthly charges. I can tell it to add 10 items to the list, and I'm going to start with 1002 and hit Add. So if you look on the screen behind me here, now we have all those 10 items automatically added to the list.
So if you want to help keep track of your inventory and you don't track your serial numbers, would it be best to put, say you had 200 units? Did you want to put all 200 in there so it helps you keep track of your inventory, or what would be the best?
If you just want to keep track of a quantity, what we have at the top here of this list, you have quantity location maintenance.
Okay.
So you wouldn't have to fill out 200 lines here with serial numbers. You could just go to quantity location maintenance. You could pick an item, let's say portable toilet. I would need to set up a location, and I can do that by just typing in here. I could call it Yard A or warehouse or something like that. It'll ask me, do I want to add it to the list, hit OK, and then I could type in a total quantity that I have. So now you'll see in just a moment when I go through the rental transaction where it shows you how many you have to rent when you're actually filling out an order.
Okay.
So to enter a new order, we can go to Rental Info, enter a new rental. And I can pick a customer. I can put in a location, maybe for placement. I then can go down here to the item, and I could add my portable toilet item to what we're renting out. Now, if I want to use serial numbers, if I hit the serial number drop down, it would only show me the units that are available to rent. So I could pick a serial number. Otherwise, if you're just tracking a quantity, you could say you're pulling this unit from your yard or your warehouse. And we're renting out one. Now, if we double-click the quantity here, I get a menu that shows me at Yard A or warehouse or whatever location, we've got a total of 12. We're trying to rent out one because we have a quantity of one here, so that there are 11 available after I do this transaction.
Okay.
Now, if we try to, let me go ahead and pick a serial number here. Now, if I'm doing another new transaction, if I just go to enter a new rental, and I'm just going to pick another customer. And let's say I'm trying to rent out 15. It's going to warn me that I don't have enough at this location available to rent.
Okay.
So it then brings up the screen and tells me I've only got 12 total right now, including the ones I'm renting, 15 from this order and 1 from the other order. It's considering there are 16 on rent and there's -4 available. So this warns me that I don't have anything else. If you had like a yard B or if you had multiple yards, you could select a quantity from a different location to be delivered. Otherwise, you could overwrite it, but it warns you here, it flags it in red, letting you know you don't have any in stock to fulfill this order.
Okay.
Now, a couple other things that I may want to put on this rental transaction if we charge for delivery. I could pick the item from QuickBooks that we use for a delivery charge. This is just going to be a $15 delivery fee. I'm going to tell it to run once, and it's going to be set to flat rate. We don't want any prorating. I just want to charge $15 the first time we bill for this transaction or this order. That's what run once means. Anything flagged as run once would only be billed that basically the next time this transaction goes to be invoiced into QuickBooks. It would not show up on any future billings. So if I also needed maybe to charge for a weekly service, maybe we service this portable toilet once a week for this customer, and we bill them once a month, so they get maybe 4 services at $25 a service in any given month. And again, I'm going to tell that to be flat rate, and we do want that to show up on every month that the rental is out, so I'm not going to tell it to run once. Now, if you see here, the location is automatically copied into the location for each line item if you set the location up here. This way you can have multiple units with different placement instructions or different locations on the property. I can set a delivery date specific to each item. The build through date is one of the most important dates. That is basically the start date of this rental transaction. By default, it will be the same as your delivery date on a new order. So when I go to bill this, when I run billing either at the end of the 28-day cycle or at the end of the month, this unit is going to be billed from the 11th to whatever that ending date is of your billing term. I can put any general transaction notes down here in the bottom left, put in delivery notes or pickup notes. I even have a tax code I can select if I wanted to override the QuickBooks default for this customer. I can select that here. So now that I've got everything I need on this rental transaction, I can just simply hit save or close. And if I want to see a list of everything that's currently rented out, I can hit the Items Rented button on the top of the menu, and it shows me everything that's tied to a customer currently. So this screen right now is showing me I have an invoice number 2. I have 3 lines here just because we have a delivery, the portable toilet, and a weekly service. So a great way to see what I physically have out on rent is if I go to Item and I select maybe just the item I want to check. This will just show me the portable toilets, and I've got 1 out on rent. And it'll total it up at the bottom and give you an estimated monthly total for billing of all the portable toilets. Again, if I wanted to open up and see the details of the transaction, I could just double-click that invoice number. We have a couple options for creating a task. So let's say I need to create a task to manage a delivery, basically so I can give a work order to the guy and track that this delivery was completed. So I'm going to tell it to create a delivery task and hit Create Task. This allows me to go right into task entry, has the customer filled out, the task type, rental delivery, it puts all of the notes in I need. I then could assign it to a driver and set the due date for delivery. It's being delivered today. Press close and I'm back on my rental transaction. If I switch over to task list, you're going to see now I have a task for a rental delivery. I could print this out and use this as a delivery tip. This would also be visible on the mobile devices if you're using our mobile software for the guy to know he has a delivery to do today, maybe in addition to his regular weekly services.
I know this is kind of a task question, but if you have a bunch of them that you want to print out for a day, like you've done 5 or 6 or 7 delivery tickets, and you want to print them out each time, but you want to print them out all at once, how do you do that?
You would just hit the print button on the task list. I then could say I want to print out maybe everything for the week so far, and I hit the drop down and do print work orders for a specific day or date range. When I hit print, it'll then print out all the open work orders in multiple pages here. So you can just send it all to the printer.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Now, we are charging this customer for weekly service, so we need to get it on the route schedule for weekly service. So in the top right-hand corner, I'm going to select my route. I'm going to put it on Route 1 for weekly. And if it's being delivered today, maybe their first service date will be Tuesday the 18th. So they'll be every week on Tuesday. I can hit put on route. So now if I check my route schedule, you're going to see I've got the customer right here that was automatically added onto the route for the 18th, set up to be done every week. So if I needed to print a schedule for all of my weekly services, I can go to Route Info, Print Route Sheets. I can then print my schedule for Route 1 for, let's say, today's date. Or actually, we're going to have to go into next week. I have a bunch of different versions here of the schedule. We've added a new one for portable toilet and septic companies called Route version 2 Condensed right here. This would be just a stop. It gives the customer information, has the frequency weekly on Tuesday, has a little spot to check off whether maybe a hand sanitizer refill was done. It has a total quantity of items on the order and a time in and time out. Now we have other versions of this. If I go to with rentals, you're going to see the different items on the order. So this one would actually show the serial number and the placement instructions. And then I even have one that's with rental item totals. This one would just show you the item and a total.
How do you add something to that miscellaneous 1 and miscellaneous 2?
Those pull from the customer additional info fields. So if I went to that customer, if I double-click their name to go to customer detail, I go to additional info. Here's miscellaneous 1 and 2. So I can rename these. Maybe this was mobile number.
Is there a way to put, like, we have account numbers? Is there a way to make the account number go in there?
If it's the account number from QuickBooks, no. I mean, you could set it to be the account number, but then you'd have to copy and paste it into this extra field every time you wanted it to show up.
I mean, if you go double-click on the customer, there's an account number there. That
Yep.
I had
the account
there,
number
right there.
for this customer was 123456.
Right.
You would have to go to additional info, set up this to be account number, and then you'd have to copy and paste it onto this screen.
Then it would come up. Okay.
Yep. So now if I were to reprint that route sheet, you'll see its mobile number and account number.
Okay. Thank you. So I've created my delivery task. I've got this on the route. This one is done. So again, I can just hit close, and my transaction saved. If I go to rental info, rental inventory list, this is going to show me that 1001 is rented out to this customer. It's on invoice number 2. You can always double-click the invoice number from this screen as well to pull up that transaction. And it's also going to show up in customer detail. So if I go to customer detail for this customer, go to rentals, you'll see that this customer now has an active rental. So let's assume that my billing term for this month would be, a 28-day cycle from the 1st of February to the 28th of February. That's my 28 days. So let's say it's February 28th and it's time to run billing. I would go to rental info, billing, run billing. I can put in the ending date, which would be the 28th. And that there are 28 days in my billing
cycle. I do want to show the serial number. I can hit Generate Pre-Billing. Then I can hit View Pre-Billing. And then this is what would go into QuickBooks. I have a portable toilet rental, serial number 1001, from the 11th to the 28th. And it is from the 11th because this was delivered on the 11th. So it's prorating that $60 a month because they didn't have it a full month this term. The rest of my units were set to flat rate and not to prorate. Those are set here as well. They're the full $15 a month and $100 for the service. Now I do have the option to set a billing date up at the top. So this is if I wanted my invoice date in QuickBooks to be, let's say, the 28th. And then whenever I'm ready to invoice into QuickBooks, I can hit Post to QuickBooks.
I have a bunch that are like 30th, 31st, and we go from the 30th to the 30th or the 11th to the 11th or whatever it is. What do we do at the end of this month when it's the 28th? Do we do them all at the same time, or how does that roll?
Since you have those different billing groups, one for each, pretty much one for each day of the month, on the 28th, you probably are going to have to run billing for group 29, 30, and 31.
Oh, okay.
That's how I would recommend doing it.
Okay, sounds good.
Now once all the transactions have disappeared off this list, that means they now exist in QuickBooks. So if I go into QuickBooks, sorry, first time with 2014, I'm getting all these yellow boxes. Okay. So here you can see we've got the weekly service, the portable toilet with our dates, quantities, items, full invoice in QuickBooks. Now if I want to look at a history of everything I've built into QuickBooks, I can go to Rental Info, Billing, Historical Transactions. So this would show me the total charge, the billing date. I would have a total down here at the bottom of total revenue from rentals, $151.43. And that matches the invoice in QuickBooks so far. I can even go back to my rental inventory list. I can double-click that serial number. I can see so far total income generated from this particular unit is $36.43. I can go to transactions to see currently what transaction it's on. I can go to billing history to see a full history of this unit every time it was billed. I would have an average and a total, so all that information is nice here. I can either do a file link and attach a picture of the unit or a signed service agreement, maybe an original purchase receipt. Now on the return side, if I go back to items rented, I can double-click the invoice number. So right now this has now been updated to show that it's been billed through the 28th. So this customer has, basically they're paid through the end of the month and has a date run for my run once item is filled in. So let's say we're now progressing a little bit further into March, and this is being returned maybe the second week of March. So I could put in my return date here, I could hit Return All. It's going to ask me, do I want to invoice these items? I recommend you hit yes here if you bill in the rear, because when it comes time to the ending of March, or when you run billing at the end of the cycle in March, these items will be ready to go to invoice into QuickBooks. Or as soon as you hit yes, you could then go and send them their final bill right away. If you bill in advance, you may have already invoiced prior through that return date. So it's just up to you whether or not you want to issue a credit for the time that they've already been, that they paid for that they're not using. If I hit yes here, everything has now a date returned. When I close this transaction, it is no longer under items rented. And then if I go to View Pending Transactions, you see this transaction is in here. It's being billed from the 28th to the 10th, the return date. And again, it is prorating it for its final billing. Maybe we don't need to charge anything else. I can remove those, and I could send this into QuickBooks again. Everything here. To find a full list of all your historical rentals, everything that's open and closed, you can go to Rental Info, Rental Inventory Transactions. So this would show me every transaction returned and currently open. To open up the transaction again, I could just double click on the name here. It would open up that transaction so I could get all the information. Under the Select drop-down, I have a couple quick forms I could print. I could print a delivery ticket if I needed to. This is in lieu of doing a task. I could do a pickup ticket, quote, special events agreement. I could use a Word template. So if I select Word template and print, I could have my own form designed, maybe a delivery ticket. That'll open up in Microsoft Word here. You can design this template hard-like, and the data will transfer over to it. Now from the rental transaction, I can hit See Rental Item List. That'll take me right to my rental inventory list, and if you look, the 1001 rented to has been erased, so that has been turning the item is what physically puts it back into inventory and allows it to be rented out again in the future.
So the delivery ticket one, that would be used if you have some verbiage you want to make sure that the customer's signing when they deliver. Is that what that would be about?
Yeah, I have a lot of customers who use that for like the rental agreement or anything like that, like a contract that the customer signs. And yes, that's a perfect use for it.
Okay.
And then if I were to, right from this, if I were to hit quantity location maintenance, I could see that I now have 12 back in stock ready to rent out. I don't have 11 anymore because that one was returned. And that is as general as I can get dealing with rental transactions without getting into specific details. And I do like to leave a lot of time on the rental class to answer any specific questions so I can maybe show you an example. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free.
I have, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Your turn. Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
I just was wondering where you pulled up that sales tax. I saw that briefly and I didn't quite understand it.
The sales tax?
You pulled up that little corner box for sales tax. Oh, is that where that is? Okay. So you can choose what their sales tax is right there. Okay. Never mind. I
Correct.
got
This
it.
shows the default in QuickBooks currently, whatever it's selected. Now, as you know, in QuickBooks, multiple job sites within QuickBooks can't have their own tax rate. They're always assigned to that parent. That's what they pull from.
Right.
So this allows you to override that on a per job site basis and give you that different tax rate if they're in a different county or state.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
If I have, like, I have a construction company and they have a lot of different toilets at a lot of different places, so what's the best way to do it at this screen to say that, you know, this they have 2 toilets at this site, they have 2 toilets at this other site? What's the best way to put it down?
How do they need? It really depends on how they need to be billed.
Okay. They usually all have. They rent them by the month, and then they have weekly service with all of the toilets.
Does the construction company just need one invoice of all of their locations?
Yeah, I just right now I just do one invoice and then just, you know, put down that this one's at this site and this one's at that site.
Okay. Your best bet is to use let me do a new rental here. So if I pick as my customer, like a construction company, and then I do portable toilet, and I could say location, and then I could say we have 4 or 5 there.
Okay.
And you would do that multiple times, you know, portable toilet. So you could detail it out like this, and when you run billing, when you're on that run billing screen, you have the option to show that location field on the invoice. So each item description will have the description of the rental, whether it's portable toilet, and then it would be dash whatever the location is.
Okay.
And you would, I think, do the same with the weekly service. So you have weekly service at that location, and you can do the same thing.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I don't have any at this time, no.
Okay.
I have a question. So what we've started doing is we are doing a delivery task, and then once we get the delivery ticket back, then we're building this up and putting the toilet in and all that kind of stuff and doing the first month's billing because we bill up front. Is that the best way to do that, or is there a better way?
No, I think that when you have the delivery ticket back, then that's kind of the best workflow to know, okay, now it's time to be billed, and you know, that's when you would close out the ticket. You could put in the serial number in which was delivered. That all makes sense.
Okay.
For billing for, like, if we rent out toilets for, like, the weekend or an event, do you just go, so when you go to bill it, do you just put the date of that weekend and then only those ones show up, or will all your monthly ones show up too when you go to do that?
If I have I'm just going to select like a portable toilet. We're going to have one at, let's say it's a flat rate for the event. And we would set our special events usually, most people in the industry are just, you know, they kind of bill out the flat rate just for the weekend. I can put it in my start date and end date. So maybe we'll say Friday through Monday the 17th. So I'm delivering this on Friday. So all I want in QuickBooks is to show that it's a $65. As soon as you enter it like this, I would just hit Post to QuickBooks at the top.
Okay. Okay.
That way it would just do that one. And it would have the, Friday's date through Monday's date, 14th through the 17th, one at $65. It wouldn't bill the rest.
Okay, and then, yeah, then you could just print the batch in your QuickBooks for all your weekend ones.
Yep.
Okay.
And this works really well, especially if you take, if you require a deposit or if they pay up front. So as soon as you enter the order, you can hit Post to QuickBooks. That way, right away, you can then go in and receive payment or run a credit card.
Okay.
And then you do a delivery and a pickup ticket at the same time in your
Yep,
task?
I could then go in and do a delivery task. Like say we need a delivery task for Friday. And then I want a pickup task for Monday. Done. So now I've got my pickup, my delivery, it's been billed. The only thing that would be left to do is when you finally finish that pickup is you would go to items rented and you would put in your date returned is already filled in, so you just hit return all to return them back into your inventory. When it asks you to invoice them, you hit no because you've already billed them. And that just puts everything back into your inventory, no invoices generated. Can I answer any other questions, or is everyone good to go for today?
I think I am. I'll have to play with it, and then I'll write my questions down for next time. So.
Okay. We also have a class every Friday. It's Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern. It's a Q&A class, so that's kind of like a guaranteed hour, which all we do is rotate through everyone, just general questions on anything in the software.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and look forward to seeing you in the classes the rest of the week. Take care.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.